don't.
Yeah. Don't even think about that as an option. And Congress and the Senate, I mean, it's hopeless. They're either bought off or they're being blackmailed or they don't care. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, let me interrupt you. Kevin, what concerns me is being a military person, and you were in the military.
Yeah.
Where is this 1.4 billion rounds of ammunition? Where is that going?
I know. We've had shows on that, like the National Weather Service or wherever it was or what is it? NOAA, the National National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's it. NOAA. They were buying like 500,000 rounds, and the Social Security Administration was buying like 200 million rounds or some crazy figure. And yes, I mean, what is the game? I mean, people just hear that and they say, "Oh, ho hum." How can you just say ho hum? What is the Social Security Administration doing, putting out bids for hundreds of millions of rounds? I mean, this makes no sense.
Well, that's just like another thing to say to a person, okay, look, don't believe me. Take a look at what your government is doing for you. Yeah. They're broke, and where are they getting the money to buy all this ammo to use to who do you suppose they're going to plan to use that on? Because they know that when the banks close and everything collapses, that people are going to be starving and they're going to be hysterically angry, and they are going to take to the streets. And after that Colorado shooting, that false flag stupid setup,
exactly.
That poor drugged guy. Anyway, that whole thing backfired. Instead of them trying to take away our guns and killing the Second Amendment, the firearms sales of guns and bullets went up something like 40%. I had a laugh when I heard that. It's like, well, that blew up in their faces.
Oh, I know. That was an obvious con to start with. I tell you what, we're just about our last break. I've got to take about a 4 or 5 minute break here, but it's been great so far. We've got a lot of issues to discuss. We've only got 30 minutes to do it in, so we'll be right back. Well, it's good to be back for our last half hour with John and Monica Miller. We've discussed some scary stuff, but sometimes reality is kind of scary. It isn't all just birds singing and the sun shining here. And what I do want you to, once again, listen to is common sense here. Nobody here is a stark, raving, drunken lunatic. Everybody's educated, military veterans, New Yorkers. That ought to mean something. I mean, we're not idiots here, and we're talking about simple, very verifiable things, just like Monica said. You don't believe what we're saying? Go ahead and Google this stuff. This isn't stuff we've concocted in some drug-stewed stupor. This is very verifiable stuff. The Queen of England does dissolve Parliament. There are Bilderbergers that hop and bop around California all the time that Alex Jones covers. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers do exist. All these issues are real issues. And the issues as far as the amount of debt the U.S. is in, this is very verifiable. Check on it in about 10 minutes. Unfortunately, we're in a hell of a mess. And like Monica said, I don't care about whether Obama's elected or whether Romney's elected. It's kind of like heads I win, tails you lose situation. I mean, the powers that be are above the party and call the shots. And the banking community obviously is crooked. What we just discussed a minute ago about the short selling of stock just around the 911 situation, has anything ever been done about that? No. I mean, is this obviously criminal? Yes. I mean, we're talking treason here. So, once again, in short form, what we're talking about are real events, real situation, but we can't keep our heads in the sand here if we're going to protect ourselves in any way possible. And I didn't mean to soapbox it up, John and Monica, but I mean, this is encapsulating what we've discussed is all real. These are all real issues. This isn't fantasy land stuff here at all, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And just to add one more little tidbit to this discussion about like this short selling, when John Corzine was brought before Congress for a hearing because they had to make a kind of a mock show of, censuring him in some way. All he got was a slap on the wrist. And the exact amount of money that went missing from MS Global a few days later shows up in J.P. Morgan's bank sheets. So it's like revolving doors. It's like the deck chairs on the Titanic. They just move it around, they hide it, they steal it, they push it around, and nobody gets into trouble, because when the head of the snake is the problem, people see, okay, I can be criminal too, because look, my own government and the banks on top are criminal. It sends a message to other factions and other people. It's like, well, why should I, be an honest U.S. citizen and do all the right things? Look at what my government's doing. It sends a bad message. It's like people go into apathy. They go into fear of their own government. And that's of course, where they want them to be, in total apathy.
Kevin, let me just say a few words about what's going on. Maybe, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to read the book, although they should. It's free now. It was $12.95, and we sold a whole ton of them. But what I'm suggesting as an ex-broker, I'm an advisor at this point, is call your broker and get your stock certificates mailed to you. Mm-hmm. Put them in your safe deposit box or someplace that's very, very secure. Because about 3 weeks ago, it's only 3 weeks ago, there was a federal court made a ruling that said any monies or any stock certificates that are in a brokerage firm belong to the brokerage firm, does not belong to the individual. And when I heard this, I don't even, Gerald Celente hasn't even been talking about it, but you have to get your own certificates. We don't think stock brokerage firms in the United States are safe. We don't think the banks are safe. And one of the reasons why the book is doing so well is we talk about a custodian firm. And there's a custodian firm is a cross between a stock brokerage firm and a bank. And there's two of them over here in New Zealand. I think there's about 5 to 6 of them over in Australia, which we don't know anything about. Yep. But one of them doesn't like Americans, so you can cross that one off. They will not do business with Americans. And the other one does. And you can check, the name of it is Aegis Limited. And it's a firm, I think they've got something like $6 or $8 billion in it. They have no liabilities. And this is the key. In America, these firms, even the custodians or the brokerage firms, they have assets, they have liabilities, they can gamble with their money. And when they lose their money, then they start gambling with the investors' money. Over here in a custodian firm, and any American can just, basically you can look in the book, they give you an advisor, they charge about 1.5%, and if you just do CDs, they charge you about 0.75%. But it cannot go under. It's not owned by the government, but it's regulated. They cannot have any liabilities if they gamble at all, which they really can't because they don't have any money to gamble. So they are regulated. But there's a veil that basically the advisor cannot get at your money, the custodian cannot get at your money, only the client, only the investor can do it. And this is what should happen in America. They should have nothing but custodian firms. And so what we're saying is get your money over here, and you can just contact Aegis, but you can contact us. We would help you to get started. We give you the information. We are semi-retired. We have enough accounts at this point, but we are here to help the Americans.
We can at least point you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's what we're trying. And
anyone that can't see this whole system is a rigged, sick game is naive and frankly stupid. I mean, we need to be able to cope with the coming problems in some fashion. Instead of the government dictating that we get half our money or 30% of our money. I'm wondering if it's going to be like in Nazi Germany just before the war, where they were running around in wheelbarrows worth of inflated money.
That's right. Can I mention one other thing about IRAs, since your audience has so many IRAs? That right now there's 4 bills in Congress that are saying that the Americans or the American government wants the $3 trillion of our IRAs and our 401ks. And what they're going to do, what the bills are saying is, in the first move will be voluntary. that the government is going to say, hey, look, you don't want to play the stock market because you're losing too much money. Come over to our 3% annuity, which inflation is anywhere between 7 and 10% right now, and next year it's going to be 20. And we're going to pay you 3%. We're going to save you, Mr. American. And then just about 6 months later, we understand it's going to become mandatory that you will have to turn your IRAs over to the government. They give you an annuity, and within 4 or 5 years, your buying power will be zero. But the government will be able to gather up $3 trillion. I don't know what $3 trillion versus $160 trillion is going to do, but that's going to be their next move. So in the book, we're saying, I don't want to mention the name but if you read the book, there is a law firm which with an accounting firm that will take your IRA. It costs about $4,000. It's not cheap, but they will enable you to take your IRA and invest it anywhere in the world in real estate, gold, investments, whatever you want to do. So we're suggesting that you look into that. If you have an IRA, maybe 50, and we make nothing on this. If you have a $100,000 IRA and it costs you $4,000 to do it, you may want to do it. If you have a smaller IRA, maybe it's not worth it. But definitely, that is the next move that the government's about to make.
Well, it's certainly clear they're trying to, I don't know what the latest figure is on unfunded federal pensions, but I know it's in the trillions. I know it is. There's no way the people that retired with all these ostensible benefits are going to keep getting them. Municipalities are steady trying to negate the policemen's benefits and other municipal employees' benefits. I mean, this whole thing looks like it's going to crack like an egg. It really does.
Well, just today I was reading how 55% of the American public is in some fashion getting money from the government in order to sustain themselves. So that could be unemployment, it could be food stamps, welfare, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. So this is, of course, going to accelerate as more people lose jobs and as more people get older and start to collect their Social Security. So this is going down the backside of a bell curve. It's like the freight train has left the station. It can't turn around at this point. It's only going to get worse.
Right. It's unsustainable is what it is. It is. I understand that. And it's very scary. And I do feel for people that have built up all these big pension benefits and look forward to a relatively comfortable and, worry-free retirement, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, there was a time when you could take your little Social Security check and, go somewhere, to South America someplace. And
Mexico,
Yeah, and you could live a comfortable life. But if the dollar becomes worthless and the banks all crash, even if you had $100,000 set aside, well, what good is it if you only get a quarter of it or whatever back? Or worse, if they go to digital currency, which is one of the things that I've been hearing that they would love to do, because then they could just pay you with points. And they could say, okay, well, you've just earned 500 points for the week. And your groceries maybe are 100 points. Your house is maybe 200 points, and then you get a couple points left over that you can actually play with. Well, if they decide that you're a terrorist or they don't like the color of your shoes, and they decide to just take your points away, well, it's like the mark of the beast. No man can sell or barter or trade, or you're held hostage. So
it is very scary. It really is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just hoping that people wake up and stop using the big box stores, stop using the big banks, work together, grow a garden, get closer to your family, get out of the cities, because once the food runs dry. I mean, we used to live in Florida, and one hurricane season, we had 7 hurricanes, 7. That meant that every time they said, okay, now it's hurricane blah, blah is coming, all the food would be gone within 24 hours. And within as you know, within 3 days, if the trucks don't show up, there is no food left in a store. So when things get really rocky, the last place you want to be in is a city where there's a lot of hungry, thirsty, angry people. Because when people become desperate, they do desperate things. So we're just saying, if you can't leave the United States, then go live out in the country someplace and get as off the grid as you can and as close to nature, and surround yourself with people who get it.
I just want to move to Little Falls.
Right. You know, you are such a good host, Kevin. You are putting up with the three of us. It's so difficult to talk. But if anybody really, if it does hit the fan, we have a beautiful house, but we can only accommodate 1 or 2 couples. But anyway, you can just jump on the plane. You can come over to New Zealand, or I think it's also Australia, and you can live for 9 months with a visa. Anybody can come over here, and then you can go over to Australia for 9 months and come back to New Zealand. So, and you know, we do a couple of languages, but it's so nice to speak English, and that's one of the reasons, you know, Americans, for the most part, don't speak a lot of languages. So New Zealand would be the place. Just jump in the plane, come on over. You get a 30-day visa. It's like a visitor's, and then you could stay longer. And it is absolutely incredible. And if you like lamb, it's quite cheap.
I'm a vegetarian. I guess I could make out over there too, I suppose.
That's over here too.
Yeah, the grass. Lots of grass over here.
Okay, that sounds fine. Well, I don't know. It's a scary thing for a lot of people, and I do see. I've had shows where I've had a pro-union emphasis, and unfortunately, I smell a rat with that too. But basically, I don't see any way these people are going to get the benefits that they theoretically had coming to them, either through IRAs or allegedly union guaranteed pensions. It's just not going to happen. And the federal pensions aren't even going to happen, it doesn't seem like.
Well, right. Well, you're in Chicago, over in Compton, California. I think that's the first city to go bankrupt. I think that was 2 or 3 months ago. And it's a shame because these union workers, these federal workers, state workers have worked so hard, and the teachers, they're going to lose part of their retirement. It's all because of these damn wars. I mean, I put my 4 years in, and I didn't know any different. I was 20 years old, but I feel so sorry for the servicemen today, because they're coming back with all these injuries and. Oh,
it's been a total waste. At the time, I was on a radio show as a call-in, just a caller at one time some years back, and it ruined my date with Morgan Fairchild. She was wanting me to get up with her after the show and this and that, or she said, talk to the producer, give me your number, blah, blah, blah. And she was filling in for Alan Combs. And I went ahead and I said that Bush's grandfather was indicted by FDR for trading with the enemies. He's involved with the UBS Bank and also the latter-day Bush, both father and son, were the primary stockholders in the Carlyle Group, which makes armored personnel carriers. And at any rate, it was like throwing a live snake into the studio, and they bum rushed me off the phone, and I never left my phone number for Morgan Fairchild. But all these shenanigans are all true, and all these wars were done for nothing but money. I mean, no one in their right mind could possibly think that we're going to turn Iraq or Iran into another version of Kansas, and everybody's going to just walk on down the road like in a Disney movie. It's just not going to happen. And I mean, who the heck is kidding anybody here? And yet, in other words, all this was done for money. I mean, you've got a president that he and his father run the Carlyle Group. Cheney was former CEO of Halliburton, 10 minutes ago. And all of a sudden they have a war that goes on and on, longer than any other war we've ever had. Now, this is not by accident. And anyone that thinks it's by accident is just incredibly naive.
Have you heard that some of the soldiers who came back from Afghanistan were saying what we're mainly doing and what our main purpose for being in Afghanistan is to guard the poppy fields, And the interviewer said, well, doesn't that seem like a terrible waste of military power? And the guys were apparently pretty brainwashed. They said, oh, well, someone has to guard the poppy fields because we don't want Al-Qaeda to get them and to make the money off of them. But they don't realize that it's our own government that's making the money off of them. It's like, what a colossal joke that they're there to guard.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It is a colossal joke. I talked to this one kid coming back from Vegas a couple of years ago, and he said, don't think we're doing anything worthwhile. They turn over a base or an installation to the Iraqis at the time, and within 5 minutes, the bolts are taken out of the door. I mean, the screws out of the wood. I mean, everything is broken down to the just dust within a couple minutes. Nothing is being, infrastructure is not being turned over to them. In other words, it's just a big waste of money. And it's someone has just laundered money and made money like nobody's business for a 10-year span. And you could tell a young kid a lot of stuff like we were told, and rah rah rah, sis boom bah. But just follow the money almost invariably, and you'll see what the truth is. And we're not protecting anything from Al-Qaeda. We could leave and be gone in 10 minutes. It would be like we were never there.
Right. Kevin, speaking of money, if you can tell your audience that China, but we owe China $3 trillion, and China is buying as much gold as they possibly can. They have almost 1,000 tons now, or they will have it supposedly at the end of the year. So we bought our gold at 300, and now it's at 16, almost 1,700. So we're quite happy. I think we're going to eat probably for the rest of our lives. But but right now people say, well, I can't buy it at 1,700, but China is going for 4 tons. So right. They are going to be buying right after you. So we're suggesting, find a dealer, try to get one that's reputable. Gold Money, James Turk, is very, very good, one of our advisors. And get the real gold. If you can, if you read the book, we're saying get it over in Global Gold in Switzerland. But if you can't, just either buy silver or buy gold. But this would be an excellent time because the more the government prints, and they are printing, looks like we're going to have qualitative easing. They call it QE3. Tomorrow, I think, is the meeting for the Federal Reserve, and Bernanke has indicated that he is about to pull the trigger for the next round, which means they'll probably print another $2 or $3 trillion worth of money.
Oh,
yeah, and if that hits, right now it's in the banks. Inflation is only 7 or 10%, but if that money gets out of the banks and starts going into the little guy, which it should, we will have inflation at 50% a year, and that's going to be the crux. That's going to break the back. So buy your gold, buy your silver, take care of yourself. The government, we pay our taxes, but I think it's gone to the point where, even Gerald Celente says it. And we have 12 advisors, and they're all on the radio, and they're saying, yes, I am buying gold.
Well, speaking of gold, George Soros, which is probably, he's got to be like one of the richest people on the planet. He's right up there. He's part of the cabal. He has just unloaded all of his stocks and his farms and all this paper money, and he's put it all into gold. So that tells me, if the big boys are starting to dump all their fiat currency and put it in gold, it's got to be like right around the corner, because why would he have done that?
Exactly. Well, fellas, you've been great guests. I know I'm certain that people listening, if they have an open mind, have learned an awful lot tonight. I'd love to have you back at some future point, assuming I'll have a little radio show in the future. But it's been very good, and I sure have appreciated having you as guests.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin. Can you give our website again?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead and give it.
It's banking-holiday.com. Banking-holiday.com.
And download the free book and give it to everybody.
Sounds great. Well, listen, you take care down there in New Zealand. I hope things go well with you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay. Good night. Well, folks, that was scary, but sometimes the truth is scary. Everything isn't just sweetness and light in this world, and this is all very well researched and very well, let's say, easily authenticated information. I mean, I urge you to go do it independently of the show, and you'll see that everything we brought up is the real deal. Now, tomorrow night, I will say on my own show, the Kevin Cook Show, we're going to have Robert McDonald, and we'll talk about sea monsters and Templar artifacts. That's interesting, and actually, with the grim stuff tonight, holy mackerel, I think a good sea monster sounds like interesting fare. But sometimes you can't keep your head in the sand any longer. That's the trouble. Listen, it's been good having you as an audience, and a big, hosting the show tonight for Epic, and I thank Ken Cherry for it. And I know Ken's an old investment counselor. I know this was up his alley as far as subject matter. So I wish you all a good evening, and we'll hopefully you'll see me tomorrow or listen to me tomorrow night, and not be strangers. Good night.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.